it is official. The swarm season has begun. It don't get much easier than this. That thing's only 18-20 inches off the ground. It's like a good 3 pound of bees. Somewhere in that ballpark, 2 to 3 pound. And I am suiting up. It is pretty chilly out here, and I've done this many a times, and when it's chilly, these things get pretty irritated. There's some already flying around my head, so let's get set up here and let's put this swarm in a box. My goodness, this don't get any easier than this. Other than all the blackberry bushes you have to walk through to get here. Just snap these extra long branches off here. This is not somebody's shrub in your yard. This is out in the field. Sure, we got a clean spot. You have permission to leave this box here overnight. So. Let's take a couple frames out, give them a little bit of room to drop down in there. I do have 2 frames of drawn out comb and 3 frames of foundation. Get this real close here. All the sticks down in there. Get real close and just give it a nice quick jerk. As many shook off there as you can. How many went out there? Not too bad. But that's what we got down in there. Let them kind of settle on that drawn out comb a little bit. Start dropping those frames of foundation down in here. I'm going to shove this box back a little bit. That way all these bees on the ground over here can a little better access to the entrance. Just like that. Yeah, let's get you off the stand here and get you a little closer. I'm going to venture to say we got the queen. I didn't see her. But just the way those bees are marching right in that box, I'm pretty confident she is in there. Yeah, we'll leave these bees here tonight. I'll probably pick them up tomorrow night, about dark. Hopefully they're still in this box. Sometimes you put them in there, the next day they're gone. I think it's late enough in the evening that they're going to stay there tonight, so that's a plus. Hopefully we'll like it good enough. It's supposed to be pretty chilly tonight. We'll like it and call it home. We'll just close that entrance off tomorrow night, take them to another bee yard, and get them set up and making some honey. As you've seen there, just caught that swarm. Hopefully they'll be good and still there tomorrow. If they're still there tomorrow night, I would venture to say they called that home. So that was the third swarm I caught today. And I went to the one swarm call. It was up on a chimney. And the guy whose house it was at, he said, "Well, you're not going to believe this." He says, "Just walk over here." And there was a hole in the front of the house, about halfway up the second story. And the bees were going in and out right there. I said, "Well, most likely that's where they came from." And he says, "You're really not going to believe this." He has 3 houses right in a row there. And he lives in one, and the other 2 he rents out. But he said, "Come over here and look at the back of this house." So we went over there, and there was another colony of bees in that house. And I've known this guy for years. Matter of fact, he used to be my physical education teacher when I was a youngster in elementary school. Now I'm pulling into one of my bee yards here. And it just so happened the third house that he has, I was there about 5 years ago and give those people a price on removing bees out of the back side of that house. And I didn't know he owned that one. So I said, "Well, you're not going to believe this." And I took him around the backside, and he had no clue that those bees were in the back of that house. And that's just amazing to me. You own a house and you don't know that there's bees in it. The renters never told him, but they're the ones that called me and had me come and look at it. So now I've got 3 colonies of bees that I have to remove out of 2 houses. And I wasn't crawling up on the roof to try to get that swarm. Maybe 10 years ago I would have, but not now. I just set up a swarm trap across the road. He owned property over there. We set it up on a little bench and put some of that swarm commander in there. And hopefully they'll move in. If not, they'll move on. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. We'll just see which way it goes in the next day or two. But anyway, I'm here at this bee yard, checking some nukes to see if they're ready to sell. And it's getting a little chilly now, down to 60. I'll still go through them here real quick, and if they are ready to sell, I will put those in the transportation boxes, the Pro Nukes, and hopefully get those sold. So let's get out here and see what we got. Well, I'm not going to use any smoke here tonight. It's pretty chilly. They shouldn't be too awful bad to work with. And I'm not sure of the condition of this nuke, so it may be just a quick pop the lid and be done. Drop my hive tool. Be right back. Well, here they come. Makes a liar out of me every time. They don't look real full bees, but pretty much just honey and pollen on that frame. There's one they've been a nice new one this year. Well, they're working pretty good. A lot of eggs and larvae in here. Not quite drawn out all the way, but they're working on it. We've had about 4 days. These bees have not flown. Today is the first day that they have been out. Huh. Right there's a queen. Booking her around this side. She's right there. A lot of eggs and larvae on that frame. Get rid of that queen cup right there. Don't need that in there. Yep, I think I'm going to leave this one go. There's a lot of larvae and eggs in here. Nothing's capped. So let that go another week or so and see what they got after that. Well, I've got a double deep nuke over here. I wish I would have taken notes of my bee yard last time I was here, but I did not. So let's go check it out and see what we have over there. This one still has the feeder on it. I have not been feeding, but bit of burr comb. Up there nice and slow. Oh my. Now I know where this came from. This came from my house. And we have a problem. And this right here is the problem. We've got 1, 2, 3. And look at this side. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 queen cells on this frame. I remember I needed to get back here and put these in a deep box and a second story on it, and it got cold, so I didn't make it back here, and this is what happens. My oh my. Just trying to decide what to do. I don't know if the queen's still in here. Normally when by the time they cap these off, they've already swarmed, but like I say, 4 days they have not been able to fly. It's been cold, real cold and rainy. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and take some of these off, leave 2 of the real nice ones, and we'll make another split. Well, we got one more bee yard to look at here on the way home. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't have anything swarm over there. So about here. That really sucked. man, I hate when I forget about a colony and they go into swarm mode. It just really, really sucks. But we'll get down here in this bee yard, just probably a mile away here, and see what's there. Make a game plan for tomorrow. If there is a swarm, I may have time to run home and get a box and take care of it. But let's just see what happens over here. Well, we checked all the bushes and trees around here. Everything looks pretty good. Nothing hanging off the front of them. Like I say, it's really cooling down. It's 58 degrees now. I don't think I'm going to take any of these nukes out of this yard. As a matter of fact, you know what? The one in my truck right now, I was going to take it to my house, but I think I'm going to add it here. I would like to have at least 10 here, and I'll show you why here once I get this hive on the stand. Now you see all those real tall trees up there? Those are all tulip poplar. And then you come down here, I'm more in the field, and all these bushes right over here, those are all autumn olive and honeysuckle. So let me go ahead and, this yard's in one of my buddies' front yard, way down over the hill. So let's get out here. Sorry if this is shaking pretty bad, but it's kind of rough. But this is all old strip ground down in here. And actually they just came in and reworked some of the high walls over here. And they had to reclaim the high walls. These high walls have been here for, my whole life. Matter of fact, my dad, when he was in his 20s and 30s, he worked out here, and the company he worked for stripped all this. But now they're wanting to go back in and reclaim the high walls for safety reasons, I guess. But all the bushes out here, this is all autumn olive. Yeah, autumn olive and a lot of cherry. And any place that there is trees, it is just stacked with wild cherry, black cherry, black locust, and tulip poplar. And I just show you over here all the trees that don't have any leaves on them yet. Those are all black locust. The rest of those are tulip poplar. But as you can see, there was a high wall that ran across here, come to a point right here, and then ran all the way down through here. That sucker had to be over a mile long. And they reclaimed all that, and they seeded that last year, except for the brown stuff. That's straw on there right now. I'm not sure why they came back in and did something with that, but yeah, but that's straw right now. And I used to work for the company that did this, and I know they plant a lot of clover. So that is going to be covered in clover. Probably, it'll be covered this year, but it won't bloom until next year. But on this side of the road, it's not really coming up yet, but the milkweed, there is so much milkweed down here. It is unbelievable. But autumn olive milkweed. Let me pull over here again. Look at all that autumn olive over there. Everything down here in this bottom is autumn olive. And if they don't maintain that over there on that hillside, those autumn olive will eventually take over that whole hillside again. So, kind of zoom in here. You can see another high wall over that way. May take you up another road. Now we'll do that some other day. All right, there's another high wall. I actually had bees. You see that camper up there on the hill. Just off to the left of that, down over the hill. And got a little story to tell you about that. Well, I met those people in that live in that camper at the a farmer's market where I was selling honey, and got to talking to them, and they told me that they had a camp out here, and they asked me if I would be interested in putting bees there, and I said, well, yeah, I'll come out and take a look at it. And once I realized where it was, of course I wanted the bees here. So we picked the place, and easy access, just on the other side of that camper, but real close to kind of their hangout area. They got a little fire pit up there and everything, and they always have family and friends over. A little rough right here, but they were up there for probably, I'm thinking 3 years. And then one day, I just happened to be on vacation. And I was in my garage. And the guy calls me, and he's panicked. And he says, we have a major problem here. And I said, what's going on? He said, we pull in, and those bees are hitting the glass of the truck, trying to sting us. We can't get out, we can't mow, we can't do anything. And it's been like this all week. Well, first thing, why didn't you call me earlier? But anyway, I asked him if there's anything changed out there. Nope. I said, okay, well, I said, you're in luck. I said, those bees will be out of there tomorrow morning. And he knew a little bit about bees. He really didn't want me to move them. He wanted me to requeen them. I said, nope. I said, maybe we'll put bees back there some other time, but if they're that aggressive, I have to get them away from people. So, right in the middle of the black locust honey flow, I had 4 honey boxes on each hive. This is a bad place to pull out right here. So I get over there. It thunderstormed all night long. I get over there at daylight. There's another storm coming. And I waited for daylight to come so I could see what I was doing. And storm was coming up the hollow. I started tearing those hives apart. I had a little trailer, and I was throwing all the honey boxes just on the trailer. Then the brood boxes, which I could not pick 2 brood boxes up at a time. I had to split all the colonies. And no lids, no nothing on a lot of this stuff, full of bees. Going down the road, got into another bee yard, and actually I set them out on the ground because I didn't have a stand to set them on. And that was that. I come back a couple days later and put a piece of mine belting down, put a stand up, got them all up on there. But I know darn well that those honey boxes did not go back on the right hives. They just went wherever. I was getting stung. But anyway, we got them moved. A couple weeks later, run into them at the farmer's market again. And the wife, she says, I think I know what was wrong with your bees. I said, what's that? She said, you took them bees out of there and there was still some flying around for a couple days, and they didn't bother us, but they were there. And about 3 days later, we was laying there sleeping and we smelled a skunk. So we get up, we're trying to shoo the skunk away, and there he is. All those bees, they found each other and they just clumped up into a ball about the size of a softball. And that skunk was just sitting there eating those bees. And she says, you know, come to think of it, that skunk's been around there for quite a while here, for about the past month. That's about the time those bees started getting mean. So, I don't know, I just thought that was funny. They had no idea what was going on. Then after the fact, you get the facts. So, just thought that was funny.